Hey everyone, and welcome. We're about to peel back the layers of the world just outside your door. From the tiniest garden all the way up to a massive region, we're going to dig into who really shapes our environment and how they do it. I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? That beautiful backyard down the street, the bustling city park you walk through, or that vast national park you visited last summer? None of them just happen. They are all designed, right? The question is, by who? Well, it turns out the answer isn't a single job title. It's more like a whole family of related professions, and each one works at a totally different scale. So to really get our heads around it, we're going to start small and then zoom our way out, from the super personal to the big panoramic view. All right, let's start at the most personal, most intimate level, the art of landscape design. For a lot of us, this is probably the one we're most familiar with. So what is landscape design? Well, think of it as this amazing blend of nature and culture. The really important things to remember here are artistic composition and horticultural finesse. It's super hands-on, deeply involved with one specific site. And it's all about creating what is basically a living, breathing piece of art. And you can really see that personal scale in the kinds of projects they take on. We're talking about residential gardens, big private estates, or maybe the green spaces around a corporate campus. The focus is always on a very specific, contained property. So look, if you take away just one word for landscape design, let it be art. That's the core of it. It's all about beauty, composition, and the hands-on craft of making a place feel just right. Okay, ready? Let's take one step back, zoom out a little bit to the civic scale. Now we're stepping into the world of landscape architecture. And right away, you'll see the definition gets way bigger. Landscape architecture isn't just about making things pretty. It's about designing these big outdoor spaces to get specific results, whether that's for the environment, for social reasons, or for aesthetics. It's a huge field, pulling in ideas from ecology, engineering, you name it. And the projects? Totally different scale. We're not in a single backyard anymore. Now we're talking about massive public parks, sprawling university campuses, and entire city waterfronts. They even tackle incredibly complex stuff like stormwater management and bringing old, degraded landscapes like mines back to life. These are projects that impact everyone in a community. Now, here's a really big difference you need to know about: regulation. Because landscape architects are working on these huge public projects that affect safety and the environment, it's often a licensed profession. You can't just hang up a shingle. You usually need a special degree and a license to call yourself a landscape architect, which is totally different from a landscape designer. And this didn't happen overnight. You can actually see how it became a formal profession. The term itself pops up way back in 1828. But the guy who really put it on the map was Frederick Law Olmsted, the genius behind New York's Central Park. He really established it. And by 1899, boom, it gets its own official group, the American Society of Landscape Architects. Okay, so remember how design was all about art? Well, landscape architecture, its keyword is science. It's all about blending things like ecology, engineering, and sociology to solve really complex problems in the places we all share. All right, time for our final and biggest zoom out. We're going all the way to the top, to the strategy of landscape planning. So landscape planning, this is where things get massive. We're not talking about designing one park or one plaza. We're talking about analyzing and guiding how whole regions are going to change over very, very long timescales. These planners are thinking in terms of decades or even 100 years into the future. And it's a super structured process. I mean, they're not just winging it. They're setting goals, analyzing the land with powerful computer tools like GIS, looking at all the different ways things could go, and then picking the best path forward. It's all very methodical, very data-driven. And this is a really crucial point. Planners don't usually produce blueprints for a building. They produce documents. They create master plans, policy papers, the giant frameworks for something like a national park. So in a way, they're literally writing the rulebook that the architects and designers have to follow. And that brings us to our third and final keyword. If planning is about anything, it's about strategy. This is the 30,000-foot view, the long-term game plan for how we use our land to make sure it's still great for our kids and their kids. Okay, so we've got our three pieces: art, science, and strategy. Now let's see how these seemingly separate fields actually work together to create the world we live in. And this chart just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? You've got landscape design, that's property scale, focused on art. Then you zoom out to landscape architecture, city scale, focused on science. And finally, landscape planning, the huge regional scale, driven by strategy. You can literally see us zooming out from one person's yard to an entire country. So, okay, after all of this, you might be thinking, so what? Why does this even matter? Why should I care about the difference between these jobs? Well, it matters because it reveals a really important truth. Our best, most beautiful, most functional environments are never, ever created by just one person. A truly great city needs that big picture strategy from the planners. It needs the technical science from the architects to actually build the parks. And it needs the detailed art from the designers to make every little garden feel special. Getting all three to work together, that's the secret sauce. Which brings us to this final idea. You know that feeling when you're in a place that just feels perfect? It feels inevitable, like it couldn't possibly be any other way. Well, now you know the secret behind that feeling. It is not an accident. It's born from that perfect, careful balance of art, science, and strategy working together in harmony.